First question is question 9, okay? Express this in the form of a perfect square. Perfect square looks something like this, like a 2x plus 5 squared would be an answer. Let's do this, right? 3 by 9, or sorry, 9 by 4 is 36. The reference number is 36. Okay? When the reference number is 36, okay, 36 is 6 and 6, and that'll get you your 12x, okay? And what we get here is 9x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 4. Factorize out what you can out of 6x and 9x. It's going to be 3x, leaving you with x plus 2. By default, the next one has to be x plus 2. What number multiplies by x plus 2? Oh, sorry,
3.
To give you...
No, it's 3x plus 2.
So 1 second, guys. Yeah, I made a mistake here. What happens is when you factorize this, you get 3x plus 2, which means that the other one is also 3x plus 2 when you factorize it out. And now, what number multiplies on the outside? 2. Finally, you're going to be left at 3x plus 2, bracket 3x plus 2, and this answer will give you 3x plus 2 squared. And that's in the form ax plus b. A would be considered to be 3, b would be considered to be 2.
So you don't work out x?
This is not a solved question, so there is no working out x. If it was a solved question, there would be an equal to 0, which there isn't. Okay? Next one. The next one we're doing is slightly different. It is express this in the form x plus b squared plus c, hence or otherwise. Now, how we do these ones is the following. We'll start off with number 11. You always half the middle value, and what you get is x plus 1. Half the middle value is 1, and you put it into a perfect square, x plus 1 squared. What we do next is we multiply this out to see what it actually sums up to. It's going to be x squared plus 2x plus 1. This number here, x plus 1 squared, is the exact same thing as x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now, we didn't have plus 1, we had plus 6. That means we had to put a plus 5 at the end to make sure it's exactly the same as the original question. Now we change it back into the way we had it before. X plus 1 squared is this part here, okay, plus 5. And that's our answer. X is considered to be 1. C is considered to be 5. So the procedure for this question is, if it's an x squared, you open up the x and you put in a squared sign. You half the middle value. So if I'm doing number 14 now, what I'd do is I'd half the middle value, which is 6. Okay, after halving the middle value, I then multiply it out to see what I'd get. I'd get x squared plus 12x plus 36. And what I'm noticing is that 3 is 3. We want 3 at the end. We don't want 36. So what we need to do is we need to take away something from 36 that brings it back to 3. Minus 33. Bring it back to its perfect square form. X plus 6 squared minus 33. And that's our answer. In this case, B is 6 and C is minus 33. How many people got that one? Okay, Connor, do you have a question? Next step is to find out what is the minimum values. You're looking to find out here. Okay, what we're doing next is we're trying to figure out what is the minimum value, okay? Now the minimum value would be, the only thing we're allowed to do is change the x value. X plus 1 squared plus 5. Now what you gotta remember is a perfect square. It doesn't matter if the value inside the brackets is negative or positive, it will always turn out to be plus, okay? So what we have to do is, it's going to be at its minimum when what you're squaring equals 0. So this has to turn into a 0. So what number plus 1 is 0?
Minus 1.
Minus 1. Therefore x has to be equal to minus 1. When x is minus 1, this turns into 0 squared plus 5. And this means that the value for x for which it's a minimum is minus 1. And the overall minimum value is plus 5. Let's try it for 14. X plus 6 squared minus 33. once again, the only value you're allowed to change is the value of x. And x should be minus 6, because minus 6 plus 6 squared is 0. Therefore, the value for which it's at a minimum is minus 6. And then when it is minus 6, the bracket turns into a 0. 0 squared minus 33, and the minimum value is minus 33. Okay, any questions about that one? The following questions. Expressed in the form x plus a squared minus b equals 0 this time. Hence or otherwise solve for x, writing your answer in the form in third form. So we already know we could use the minus b formula to do this. Now, what I'm going to do is they're very similar to the ones we've done already. So I'm just going to do number 19, okay, starting off. What you do for number 19 is what you've done before. Look at the middle value. The middle value is plus 4x. So what you want to do is you want to write down half of 4 is 2. It's going to be x plus 2 squared. Multiply out x plus 2 squared. You get x squared plus 4x plus 4. You don't want plus 4. Shh. You don't want plus 4. You want minus 1 at the end. How would you change plus 4 into minus 1? Take away minus 5 equals 0. Now convert it back into what you had before. You have x plus 2 squared minus 5 equals 0. A is 5, A is 2, B is 5. Okay. Next part is hence or otherwise. I'm going to do the otherwise. The otherwise is the minus b formula. A equals 1, B equals 4, C equals minus 1. I can then put it all in here. Minus 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times A times minus 1. All divided by 2A, which is 2 times 1. Now, what we can do here, guys, is just figure out what's in the bracket. So we're going to get the square root of 16 minus 4 bracket 1 bracket minus 1. And calculator will give us 2 root 5 minus 4 plus or minus 2 root 5 all over 2. And what we can do is we can divide them by 2. And when we divide it by 2, we're going to get minus 2 plus or minus root 5. So that's our answer. Okay? So it's going to be minus 5 plus minus 2 plus root 5, or minus 2 minus root 5. How many people got that one? When you divide minus 4 by 2, you're basically, the extra step is this, guys. The extra steps look something like this, where you break it in half. So you do minus 4 over 2 plus or minus 2 root 5 over 2. And what happens is 2 into minus 4 goes minus 2 times, and 2 into 2 root 5 goes root 5 times. And that's where your answers come from. Okay. These ones have a maximum value. And I'll tell you why they have a maximum value. In the previous questions, we'd have an answer like this. X plus 2 squared plus 5, okay? Now, by turning the squared part into a 0, which is the minimum value of a square, we create the smallest. We're back on, alright. We converted them in the previous questions, okay? We converted them to the smallest value possible. So, we said if x equals minus 2, that converts into 0 squared plus 5, alright? And the answer is 5 for the minimum value. If I pick any number other than minus 2 for x to be, what will happen? The number will end up to be a bigger value than 5. So if I was to pick, for example, x equals minus 4, what I would have got was minus 4 plus 2 squared plus 5. And what this would have been was minus 2 squared plus 5. And the answer would have been 9. 9 is bigger than 5. This is why it's a minimum value. Work away. This is why it's a minimum value. Now, okay. So what happens next is this one is different, because we're going to get an answer looking something like this, okay? Now, see the c squared? That doesn't matter, right? Just blank out the squared part and leave it as c. We'll explain that in a minute. So what we're going to get an answer for this one is something like this. 24 minus, let's call it x plus 2 squared. Now you see this time, because it's a minus a square, what happens is we're once again going to try and turn x plus 2 into 0 squared. And what happened this time around? You'd say x equals minus 2. And then it's going to be 25 minus 0 squared, which is 24. 24 is the maximum value in this case. The reason why it's the maximum value is if we choose any other value for x other than minus 2, what will happen? So example, I will choose minus 5. Okay, so remember this 24 here, okay? We'll just bring that over to the side. So this time it's going to be 24 minus, let's call it minus 5 plus 2 squared. Now what happens is we're going to get 24 minus 3 squared, 24 minus 9, and that equals 15. Any other value of x other than the value of x that turns it into the 0 will give a smaller answer than the maximum value. So the maximum value in all these questions from 25 to 30 is the value of x that turns the squared part into 0. Any other value gives you a smaller number than 24. So let's figure out how to go about doing these ones, okay? Step 1 in all of these questions, we're going to do question, we'll do question 26 starting off. In question 26, always take out minus 1 starting off. Minus 1 brackets. Now what does this change into?
Minus 8.
Minus 8 plus 2x plus x squared. Step number 1, when you have a minus x squared question, you always want to change into plus x squared. Step number 2, change it into what we've already done. Rearrange it into a normal quadratic. For the most part, you can now ignore the minus 1 on the outside for a minute and just pretend you're doing what we did already. You're just using this one here. Okay? So, yes, you go. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do what we've done already. Okay? We're going to halve the middle value and put it into the one section. So we're going to put it into the squared section. We're then going to square this out, and we get x squared plus 2x plus 1. Would everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
What's different? We don't want plus 1. We want. How do I fix that? Minus 9. Now here's your next step. You have your minus 1 on the outside, and on the inside you now have, we change it back into x plus 1 squared minus 9. Now you have x plus 1 squared minus 9. Close your brackets. Multiply back in by the minus 1, and what happens? We're going to get minus x plus 1 squared. What's minus 1 times minus 9? Plus 9. Bring the 9 back to the front. You're just rearranging the look of it. You're not rearranging anything to do with it. Okay. Our answer is 9 minus x plus 1 squared. And they asked us to compare this to the formula c minus ax plus b squared. Now, the original question said c squared, so you could say c squared equals 9.
That's a constant.
C equals 3. A equals 1 and B equals 1. Okay, we will try one more of these. Do you want one more of these done?
Yeah.
Okay, have 4 minutes to do it, so we need to be focused on this. Okay guys, the next one I'm going to do is number 30. Okay, once again, step number 1, take out minus 1, and we take out minus 1, what's left?
Minus 45.
Minus 45 plus 4x plus x squared. Rearrange it into x squared plus 4x minus 45. It's the same thing, you're just giving it a different look. Go over to the sides, work with this part. Half the 4 and you get
2.
x plus 2. You do get 2x, but just the 4 on its own. Half the 4 is x plus 2 squared. Multiply out x plus 2 squared and we get plus 4. We don't want 4, we want minus 45. What will convert that back in? Minus 49. Okay. Now, what happens next is the following. We're going to get x plus 2 squared minus 49. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to have minus 1 bracket x plus 2 squared minus 49 close bracket. So what we're going to get here is the following. We're going to multiply these in, and we're going to get a minus x plus 2 squared plus 49. Okay, and then you're going to get 49 minus x plus 2 squared. Once again, compare it to the starting off value. Now, it was initially c squared, but apparently some of them don't work. So that's what I'm saying. If it doesn't match up for c squared, just put in c. Now, what does this mean this time around, guys? C squared is
49.
therefore c is
7.
and a and b 2. Alright lads, that's the end of this video.